Hello everyone, in this video I'll be ranking the Baldur's Gate 3 spell levels on a tier list. So we're going to be starting with Cantrips going all the way up to level 9 spells. And I'll be talking about all the best spells in each of these and ranking them based on what they bring to the table. Starting off first, we have Cantrips, and we do need Cantrips. Like if you're let's just picture this, you're a wizard and you've run out of spell slots. Would you rather go up and bonk people with your measly 8 in strength, or would you rather be able to cast something like Firebolt or Ray of Frost or Shocking Grasp? So for that, I would say cantrips are in the A tier. You do need a cantrips. At some point in the game, you're going to want to use them, and it's pretty much inevitable. Even though in Baldur's Gate 3 you can long rest often and use a lot of spells, cantrips still are very consistent damage, and they do scale. And honestly, Eldritch Blast is one of the best spells in the game, so cantrips, they're pretty good. Next, we got level 1, and I think level 1 actually brings a lot of extremely useful spells. It has the most spells out of any of the levels, and we get some nice ones like Magic Missile as pictured here, which can be upcast. In Act 3, there's lots of stacks of Unstoppable, and upcasting Magic Missile can remove them, probably the easiest out of any method of damage. So pretty useful reliability. Also at level 1 we get Chromatic Orb, which is also a really good damage spell. It can be upcast and it gets an additional 1d8 of damage, and you can choose what damage type you want. So very useful for a variety of builds. There's also the shield spell, which gives you a +5 to hit your armor class as a reaction, which can help with avoiding attacks. Also extremely useful. Level 1 just has so many decent spells, and you get the most level 1 spell slots, so it makes them easy to use. Even things like Long Strider, which gives you a +3 meters movement speed, is extremely useful. So I would have to say level 1 spells go in the S tier. There's also things like Find Familiar, which is just useful to have. Speak with Animals, which even though that's a spell you can use potions to get. I think level 1 for the very useful Magic Missile builds and all the chromatic orbs and shield uses that you'll have over the course of a playthrough. I think that level 1 spells go into S tier. Next we have level 2. Now level 2 actually has one of my favorite spells in the game is Hold Person, which is probably the capstone best level 2 spell. But there are a few other good level 2 spells like Darkness, which is really nice to have, Spike Growth for the crowd control aspect. Like level 2 spells are good, but I feel like even when you're at that level, it's sometimes even better to just upcast them. Scorching Ray is a consistent damage option, I guess, for level 2 spells, so it can't make them too bad. But I feel like at later levels, we do get a lot better spells. So for level 2 spells, I'm probably going to put it in the B tier. Hold Person, again, being one of the best spells in this game. It can be upcast, but you also have at level 1 something like Command. So Command is, you can upcast at level 2 and command 2 people, or you can do 1 Hold Person. Even though Hold Person is better, the scaling is interesting as the game progresses. So B tier, it just has a lot of spells that just don't have that much use compared to some of the later ones. Level 3, I would say, is also an S tier spell slot because we get incredible. I would say level 3 is probably the best spell level in Baldur's Gate 3 for what you get at that level. We get Haste, which is one of the best spells in the game. If you're a sorcerer, you need to take Haste because you can twin it to yourself and give it to someone else, and it gives you a free action, so you can cast another spell on top of that, and then whoever else got that can cast 2 spells. So extremely useful. On top of that, Fireball. Enough said. I don't need to talk about Fireball. You get Thunderbolt or Lightning Bolt, which is a straight line lightning damage up to 48 damage, and that can also be done doubled with Create Water, which is a level 1 spell. So great synergy. That's why they're both S tier. On top of that, there's also Hunger of Hadar from the Warlock, which is an incredible crowd control spell. Spirit Guardians from the Cleric, which is one of the best spells in the game. So level 3 is actually really stacked as far as the spells go, and I would say it's probably the best level of spells in the game. So easy S tier. Next we got level 4, and I think that level 4 is probably the worst actually. Level 2 has some redeeming qualities, like it does have Darkness, Hold Person, and Scorching Ray, and a bunch of different options. But level 4, I would say the best ones are Conjure Minor Elemental and Conjure Woodland Being. Banish is not that great, which is pictured there. And a lot of the other ones are not great. Even like Guardian of Faith, a sorcerer or a cleric spell, is pretty okay, but level 4 is really a stinker level. Most times, you're better off just upcasting a Fireball or upcasting one of your other level 3 spells. There is Firewall, which is a good crowd control fire spell, but even Fireball not upcast deals more damage. So really up to you with what you think works best, but I think level 4 is probably the weakest level of spells. Obviously, level 9 is not going to be very common, but I'll be discussing that when we get there. Level 5, however, has some pretty good spells as well. So Destructive Wave is what's pictured there. That's a Tempest Cleric spell. Extremely powerful. Level 5 also has some extremely useful spells like Conjure Elemental, which is much better than the level 4 Minor Elemental, because level 5 Conjure Elemental, you can get a Water Elemental, and that thing does serious damage. It also applies Wet to targets, so you can get level 5 spell Conjure Elemental, and also level 5 spell Cone of Cold, which does 64 damage. When that's set, so if you have a water elemental that punches someone and inflicts wet on them, you can cast Cone of Cold and it'll deal upwards of 128 damage, because vulnerable will double the damage. Level 5 has some really great spells. I'm going to put it in the A tier. It just doesn't have the same level as some of the other spells, but or I guess level 1 and level 3, just the terms of how good it is. I'll put it at the top of the A tier. There's a lot of really great spells in level 5, but I do think that we do get more bang for our buck with a little bit more in level 3. And even then, you can upcast Fireball, or you can upcast Spirit Guardians. Like, there's a lot of usefulness at level 5, and that's why I'm going to put in the A tier. Next, we got level 6. And this is pictured Globe of Invulnerability. Now, something interesting is you can add to any caster a single level of Wizard, and then you can scribe Globe of Invulnerability, which does not require an intelligence stat to cast, and you can cast this, which is one of the best spells in the game. It literally will make some encounters just incredibly easy, because you can make a globe and keep your whole team safe. It's really, really useful. On top of that, level 6 also has access to Chain Lightning, which is one of the best damage spells in the game, because it can deal upwards of 80 damage, which is also doubled by our level 1 spell Create Water. So you can deal upwards of 160 damage, which will jump to 3 other targets. So enough said, Chain Lightning is crazy powerful. We also get the Circle of Death, which is a Necromancer spell, and that spell, if you have the Staff of Cherished Necromancy, if you take out a target with it, you will regain its life essence and be able to continually cast that level 6 spell endlessly. On top of that, the Necromancer Wizard heals 3 times the spell slot's level back every time it takes out a target with the Circle of Death. So you can regain 18 health and get a free casting a level 6 spell with that. It's pretty busted, but level 6 spells have some really good ones in there. There's also the Planar Ally from the Cleric, which is probably the best summoning spell. You can also upcast technically level 5 spell Conjure Elemental to make a Myrmidon at level 6. So it has water, fire, earth, and air Myrmidon. The air Myrmidon at level 6 can stun targets repetitively by attacking it. So that's really nice. But even back to the Planar Ally, or the Summon the Seelie, which is a wizard spell you can scribe at Act 3, which summons a diva. The diva is really powerful. It can fly around. It can revivify your team. So level 6 also goes up in the S tier, because there's some really extremely powerful spells. And as I said, every caster that's got full casting levels and got level 6 spells can scribe Globe of Invulnerability and cast it without worry. It's that busted. Finally, we got ourselves the level 9 spells, which there's only really 2 that you can use unless you're playing as Gale. Gale gets level 9 spells if he ascends to become the God of Ambition. I'll talk about that in a moment, but the main level 9 spells we'll be using would be Compel Karsus, which is at the very end of the game when you're using it against the Netherbrain. And also Power Word Kill, which is the one that's pictured there. This you can only get as the Dark Urge, but it basically just takes out a player. You can just cast it and it removes them, just immediately kills them. It's a very powerful spell, but you can, as a Dark Urge, you can only cast it 1 time. And yeah, the Compel Karsus spell is only used really 1 time. There's still, like, you have to beat the game with a level 9 spell, so for that I would say it's an S tier. But if you play as Gale, you get basically it's level 6 Disintegrate, but you can pick 3 targets with it and shoot it. It deals upwards of 150 damage. Incredibly powerful. You also get a spell that is a bonus action, and it can turn a target into a Tressum Cat. So that's another cool spell that you get. And then there's also another one that can, it creates a drink. I forget exactly the details of it, but yeah, you get some pretty cool spells as Gale at level 9. I'll put it in the A tier just because level 9 you need to Compel Karsus and beat the game. So level 9 it goes. Level 9 A tier. But there it is. Those are all the spells ranked on a tier list, ranking them from best to worst. Level 1 spells, incredibly powerful. Level 3, haste, and everything else. And then level 6, it's got the best level spells that you can regularly attain in a playthrough. Level 5 is also great, and cantrips are the old reliable. Level 9 has to beat the game. Level 2 has Hold Person and Darkness, two really amazing spells. And level 4, just the summons, really. But there it is. That is my tier list of all the leveled spells in Baldur's Gate 3. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have any requests for future videos, please let me know also in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. And if you found this video useful, please hit that subscribe button below. And I'll see you in the next video.